Good morning, everyone. As you've already been told, my name is Samara Fernandez, and I had the privilege of being a young Indigenous mentor on the Reconciliation Trek. Before I start my speech, I'll just ask that if you see me turning bright red, that you ignore it or just laugh quietly to yourselves. I am very nervous when it comes to public speaking, especially in front of such large crowds. So thank you in advance for understanding. By now you all probably have got a grasp of the motives behind the trek and why it was so important to our trekkers. So I'm sorry if I repeat some points that have already been stated. The whole idea behind the trek was reconciliation, and this is something I believe my group achieved, which to me is a huge step towards the future. We were able to build such strong and inspiring relationships with not only each other, but also with the amazing men from Boona, a community in Papua New Guinea who assisted us every step of the way. The strengths of our friendship were so strong that none of us felt it would be right to call them our porters. To us, we saw them as equals. So instead, as a group, we adopted the name of brother rather than porter. It is important to me to continue to maintain and nurture our relationships, again, not only with ourselves in Australia, but also with our brothers and sisters from Papua New Guinea. Because through conversations that we discussed, that there were uncanny parallels between us and them in the modern day Indigenous crises. And I believe working together to find solutions is absolutely critical. Though we went to Papua New Guinea to pay our respects to the soldiers that fought in the war, I could not ignore the fact that there were already people there living amongst the Kokoda Trek before we got there. So to pay my respects to the land and to the people, I facilitated an acknowledgement of country to the traditional landowners of Papua New Guinea and to the ancestors past, present and future. I believe through this act that it showed the men of Boona that we were serious about creating genuine and strong friendships. After that, I felt a profound amount of respect for our group. I believe it was important to have a sense of equalism because we have so much to learn from one another. Again, it is so important to work together. I will now speak about the growth I saw in our students. I must say I couldn't have been luckier with such an amazing group of students that I had the absolute pleasure of mentoring on the Kokoda Trek. I wish I had the time to make a statement about each individual, and I hate that I have to, due to time restraints, make it so general. Because each and every one of them had their own narrative. They had their own journey, they had their own strengths, their own quirks, and their own reason to join the Kokoda Trek. You're all amazing. And I cannot express just how proud I am of each and every one of you. I got to watch a group of awesome students transform into young mentors. They cared for one another and assisted each other in their own personal journeys. And it was really quite hard to put into words just how amazing that is. It blew me away. To me, I cared about each student like family, and overall, I believed we became one big Kokoda family. It was something beautiful. Students cared for teachers and mentors just as we did for them. And though this is one of my highlights for the trips, the biggest highlight for me as a mentor was to see our young Indigenous people being so rightfully proud of their heritage and culture. Our history, traditions, and contributions to society are not given the attention or recognition that they deserve. And oftentimes, our young people are told by society that their heritage is something to be ashamed of. So I was so proud to have watched them step up as our future cultural leaders. And on the flip side of that, I was given the opportunity to see young non-Indigenous students being so open-minded and willing to learn, which was also such a big gift. In saying that, there was a real sense of oneness. It wasn't Indigenous people against non-Indigenous people. It was simply people working together to reconcile. It didn't matter what background you were. It didn't matter if you were a school teacher, a school student, a teacher, or a mentor, or if you were one of the boys helping us on the trek. If someone was struggling, there was always someone else to help you. These students are our step to reconciliation. They are our future generation. And in our group of young adults, I trust wholeheartedly. I will now talk about my personal experience and journey. So just a little bit about me. I am a very proud young Warlpiri woman, and I'm studying a double degree in psychological science, counselling and interpersonal skills. I chose this degree for a number of reasons, but the overarching theme is to give back. This is something I always thought I could do 3 years down the track once I'd finished my studies. Kokoda has changed that for me, and soon you'll find out how. I've always wanted to pay homage to our Indigenous and non-Indigenous soldiers that fought on the trek of Kokoda. Of course, naturally, it was particularly important for me to recognise the young Indigenous men, as I had learnt that they had a lack of respect when they received back from Australia from World War II. They were still very much ostracised, and that just did not sit right with me. So when I saw the application for this amazing experience through Reconciliation SA, I just couldn't ignore it. It was something I knew I had to be a part of. Though I thought my application would be unsuccessful, I thought I had nothing to lose. And to my surprise, my application was accepted. Thank you, Mark. And at the start of my journey, I was warned by Sue from the getaway tracking that the trip would be life-changing and that I would not return the same person as I left. And so naturally, I did what any 19-year-old would do. I disregarded the importance of that sentence. I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, or if you have a young teenager in your life. I heard the words, however, I failed to listen to the meaning. I thought, of course, I'll be different. I'm going to learn so much from this experience. I'll get to pay respects to my soldiers. And I mean, on a side note, I was like, I hope I look different. I'm walking for 8 days straight. My calves better be toned. But I could never have prepared myself for the changes that I was to see when I came home. Sue was right. I was very different when I returned. I could hardly recognise myself. Before I left, I was happy working in retail and going about my normal life. I enjoyed owning material things and branded clothing. But upon arrival back to SA, I knew that wasn't good enough for me. I had to make big life-changing decisions. I really struggled to fit back into the mainstream world of Adelaide when I returned. I could not comprehend the amount of happiness that I felt in Kokoda, even with so little. There was no electricity, there was no social media, there was nothing but human interaction. Kokoda showed me how to be happy with so little. That's something that really stuck with me. You can be happy with virtually nothing. That respect, laughter, and good food was enough. It really helped me realise the importance of my own culture through getting the privilege to learn the culture of the people of Boona. It made me realise that I needed to return home and learn as much as I could for my future generation, to strengthen my family bonds. And it made me realise I have to give back to my people sooner rather than later. I could not continue to waste my life working a job that I found emotionally unrewarding. I couldn't wait another 3 years to give back. And so earlier this year, I made a life-changing decision, and I traded the city of Adelaide in and moved to Yuendumu in the Northern Territory. This is where my family are from originally. This decision was not made easily. I knew I had to move away from family and friends that I love dearly. In particular, my sister, who I'm extremely close with. Sorry. But I also knew that I needed to do this for myself, for cultural gain, and to be closer with my family. I now work as the administrative assistant at a company called WIDAC, which was originally named the Mount Theo program. This is the same company that my great-grandmother, Peggy Brown, founded in 1993 in order to combat chronic petrol sniffing in Yuendumu and other Warlpiri communities. The Mount Theo program is a cultural rehabilitation program that has significantly decreased the amount of Warlpiri youth going to juvenile facilities by allowing family members to look after the troubled youth through cultural aid. Thank you so much. The Mount Theo program has now become a multi-facet organisation named WIDAC, which provides community members with a number of benefits, such as counselling, youth programs, job opportunities, and basic needs such as help with banking. I now get to work alongside my family members, and that was something I never thought I could have done this soon. Every day I have spent working in Yuendumu was rewarding, and I would not have made such a big life-changing decision had I not participated in the Kokoda Trek, and I've never felt happier. I don't look happy, but I am. I would love to say a special thank you to Mark Waters and Samara Young from Reconciliation SA, and to Getaway Trekking for the opportunity. None of this would have been possible without you. And finally, I would just like to end my speech with one important tip for those of you who may be considering doing the Kokoda Trek in the future. Give it your all. What I mean by that is fully immerse yourself in the experience and the lifestyle. Get to know your brother, get to know your cook, get to know the cleaners and each other. Whatever you put into them, you'll get back times 10. Humanity is your biggest gift. And you'd be robbing yourself of a truly amazing experience if you were crazy enough to miss that opportunity. I have benefited so much from this experience. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I have no doubt you would too. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed listening to my voice for the last 10 to 15 minutes. I know I'm sick of it. And if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to approach me. Thank you.